This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them East.
And this is the second time we're doing that because I almost announced you as Brandon Swanson
Yeah, it
a
gets
few
confusing.
seconds ago, but good thing that hits the cutting room floor. Welcome into the Onside Kick here on Most Valuable Podcast, our NFL podcast. And Mark, it is finally
Football.
it's finally
It's
that
here.
week.
I'm excited.
Thursday, the first game kicks off.
Yeah.
Sunday, most of the other games kick off, and then the best team, the Minnesota Vikings, play on Monday, where we will beat Adrian Peterson and the New Orleans Saints. I'm calling it right now.
You guys are not good in the first game.
Yeah. Remember when I said we'll beat the Niners on Monday night? Remember what happened that game?
Guys got killed.
Remember what position killed us? Carlos Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
What position does Adrian Peterson play? I'm a little nervous because of that. But before we get into today's show, got a little bit of house cleaning for you guys. If you have not already, make sure to click the link down below for patreon.com/most valuable podcast. Just a way to help support the channel more so than watching and liking this video or this podcast on Blog Talk Radio. We've got many cool rewards, exclusive Patreon podcasts, a call-in for you to be on a podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast, and then a special Q&A that we are going to do with our patrons for you guys, for everyone to kind of see. So go check out patreon.com/most valuable podcast. And Brandon and Mark, we got a jam-packed show. I'm still on the primetime podcast.
Hey, you got to get
from
over that.
yesterday.
We're
but
done with it.
We got a jam-packed show today talking about basically one trade, but splitting it up into two. Going to talk about how Jacoby Brissett, what it means for the Colts, and then how this trade affects then the Patriots in segment number 2. And then we're going to round out the show with our kind of can the Bucs win the NFC South before making our Week 1 predictions in the NFL. But let's get into it. Jacoby Brissett gets traded from the Patriots to the Colts. Now, I'm just going to straight up ask you, what does this mean for the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, first of all, what it means for Brissett is he's not going to get that second Super Bowl ring that he didn't really have to do anything for. No, I mean, for the Colts, it's my thing for the Colts is really this doesn't do anything.
Really?
This is really just kind of a insurance policy on Andrew Luck. They don't feel like they have anything in Tolzien, which is understandable. If you watched him play last year or ever, you know he's got nothing. He's got nothing. So, and nobody wants to see it again. Now, for Brissett, really what it comes down to is we saw this guy play a few games, basically 2 games, because, yes, he played in 3, but one of them was barely anything. Only threw the ball 9 times. So, you saw him play against Houston in a great game. You saw him play against Buffalo in a not great game. He didn't throw a single touchdown when he was out there, and he was on the Patriots. That's an issue. I mean, I know they had a good run game, and they weren't asking a ton out of him. But people are coming out here being like, Andrew Luck is done. They've got their quarterback of the future, I don't understand why.
See, I'm not on the side of Andrew Luck is done. First off, when you say that, he didn't throw a single touchdown pass, the way I look at that is, except for like Julian Edelman and Gronk, the rest of the Patriot wide receivers are nothing to like.
But it's all based on the system.
Let's be honest. Tom Brady makes his receivers better than they
Bill
are
Belichick
in most cases.
And his system has something to do with that,
and
too.
Jacoby Brissett is nowhere near what Tom Brady is. So that's what I kind of read into that a little bit. I love the game that he played against Houston, mainly because he didn't turn over the ball. Yeah, you mentioned no touchdowns, but the kid didn't turn over the ball either against Buffalo or against Houston in the INT department. And what I look at this when it comes to the Colts is if Andrew Luck is healthy, of course he's going to be the starter. I'm not coming out and saying that Jacoby Brissett is the guy to take it, but an interesting tweet, and this one coming from Andrew Walker, a quote from Ballard, the GM, says, trade for Jacoby Brissett is more long-term thinking, is under contract for 3 years, likes him as backup candidate of the future.
Sure. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, obviously they feel more confident in him than Tolzien going forward as a backup. But when asking the question of what does this mean for the Colts, a backup quarterback doesn't mean shit.
And here's the thing that I look at is if this was a normal situation, you would say, okay, he is the backup. However, we're talking about Andrew Luck here. This is a guy where he's not going to play this week, so Tolzien is actually, I heard, going to get the start
because he starts week 1.
Just because Brissett's not going to be up to speed with the offense. But let me put it this way. If Andrew Luck was, let's put it this way, if Andrew Luck was going to start week 2, why make the if you're not going to start Brissett week 1, if Luck's going to start week 2, why make this trade anyway?
It's pure
Andrew Luck
insurance
would be
policy.
out there. And I get that. It could be the re-injury of Andrew Luck, but I think that the Colts don't really know at all how long Andrew Luck is going to be out with this shoulder injury in his throwing shoulder, because to me, the only reason why they took him off the PUP list was because if they didn't take him off the PUP list this week coming into week 1, he would have had to miss the first, he would have had to sit out the first 6 weeks of the season. So you're taking that in 2 ways. One, that they think he'll be back before the 7th game, but also you look at it, and when they say no timetable for him, not just to return to a game, but to return to practice, I look at this as maybe a Tom Brady situation of, at the worst, hey, what if he misses the first 4 games of the season? Are we going to be able to survive with Tolzien as our starter? And I'll tell you, the answer to that question was no. That's why they made this trade.
Yeah, I mean, with Tolzien as your starter, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take your pick. You're not going to win a single game with him out there. Brissett, you at least have a chance, I guess. But honestly, the Colts are nowhere near as good of a team as the Patriots are. And the Patriots were last year. My thing about about Brissett is, yes, he didn't throw any interceptions, but he didn't throw any touchdowns. He had pretty decent quarterback ratings, but his QBR was pretty bad. When you look at his completion percentage, it's not bad. Against Buffalo, it was 63. It was 66 against Miami. That's pretty good, but he only threw 9 times. Against Houston, it was 58%. So it's not awful. It's not great, but it's not bad. There's just nothing there that makes me go, yeah, that's a guy. You know, if you had made a splash, and we're not going to get into this. Don't worry, Brandon. Brandon hates this guy.
Colin Kaepernick?
If you went and made a splash and signed Colin Kaepernick, I'd be going, all right, we have something to talk about in the what does this do for category. But Jacoby Brissett is purely the insurance policy of, is Andrew Luck back week 3 or week 6? Not sure. Well, it really is just this guy's probably not going to lose us any games. Maybe he can win us a game. But honestly, what I'm most concerned about is a guy like T.Y. Hilton. If Andrew Luck's not out there, T.Y. Hilton's not anything. I mean, his production goes down by a considerable amount if Andrew Luck is not throwing him the football. And of course, because Andrew Luck's an amazing quarterback. And then you have a guy like Tolzien out there, or Brissett, who, we don't know much about. So I'm more worried about something like that. I'm more worried about an aging Frank Gore. I'm worried about a bad offensive line. Those are the things that I'm most worried about. I'm like, I don't care if Brissett is a good quarterback or if he's a bad quarterback, because he's in a bad situation. Andrew Luck gets by because he's a freak out there, and he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, who gets completely mistreated and misused by his organization, but he's one of the most talented quarterbacks out there. Brissett, like I said, I mean, he's got a lot of talent and a lot of skill, but he's very untested, and we really don't know. This could be a great thing. It could scream of the guy who looks good in New England, like they all do, who somehow finds his way somewhere else and is terrible.
See, I don't think he's going to be terrible. And the reason why is I feel like Jacoby Brissett, and one of the reasons why I feel the Colts traded for him is even if he has to play extended time, like let's say the first 4 weeks of the season, he's a guy that can get it done with the arm. I know he didn't have any passing touchdowns, but he did have a rushing touchdown against the Houston Texans. He's a guy that can get it done on the ground. The big name that you mentioned is Frank Gore. What are we going to get out of Frank Gore because of the win? And I'm just looking at the Houston game in this microcosm. In that win, LeGarrette Blount had 105 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So you were able to get those scores on the ground, 3 total touchdowns from your rushing attack. So he didn't have to throw a passing touchdown.
And you really don't have that in Indianapolis.
No. And also another thing is that in that Houston game, I don't want to take anything away from Jacoby and the offense, but Brock the Cock didn't look too well either. He completed, just over 50% of his passes at a QBR of 29.1.
So a pretty good game for Brock.
And threw 0 touchdowns and 1 INT on the game. Lamar Miller also only had 80 yards in that game. So the Houston offense couldn't get anything done in that one either.
So much that they scored 0 points.
And I think that the tweet that I read is the most important one. Long term. This is a long-term kind of plan for the Colts because with Andrew Luck, they're expecting him to be back this season. But like you had hinted at and kind of mentioned already in this podcast, what if he re-injures it? You have a guy that you're at least confident in. What happens if, A, he re-injures it again, and after the 2019 season, there's a potential out in Andrew Luck's contract? What if in the next 3 years, this one and the next 2, the Colts decide, yeah, you know what, Andrew Luck, you're a great talent, but there's too much injuries. We can't afford to pay you if you're not on the field. Then they would go ahead and have Jacoby Brissett to sign, and because he would kind of be the kind of incumbent starter, they would probably get him at a cheaper deal than they would have to go out and get a free agent quarterback.
Everybody in the comment section, feel free to rip Ricky apart on that one because my mind is blown. My mind is blown that you'd even suggest it.
Well, if Andrew Luck keeps getting injured, if he can't stay on the field, what's the point of having him?
Maybe he can go to Cleveland. They got a nice offensive line. Sorry, everybody in Cleveland.
About
I
Andrew.
insulted your offensive line, and y'all got really mad about it. To me, I sit there and say Joe Thomas is great. The rest, I think I need a little bit more proof on. But anyways,
speaking of that, did you see the
Browns
video?
Fans really didn't like me.
Did you see the video of Joe Thomas?
I love Joe Thomas.
Was able to name all 16 quarterbacks he's blocked for in Cleveland.
Nice. He's such a badass. What is it? His Twitter bio now says like the NFL's first lineman, because of some just dumb little mistake while someone was typing. But anyways, so yeah, I'll let you look it up.
First offensive lineman in NFL history.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be like the first NFL lineman to do, what is he at, 10 Pro Bowls or something like that? And no, just the first NFL offensive lineman. So I love it. He's too good. But anyways, the long-term plan. When you say long-term plan, I totally get what you're saying. But at the same time, it just has this idea of like, I really don't think there's that huge of a plan in I almost call him Cody, in Jacoby Brissett. I really don't think there's that much of a plan there. It's just, I think this kid might be a good backup. Really, I think that's all the planning that really goes into it. And maybe he won't, and we'll just cut him, because who cares? He's a backup quarterback. It really doesn't matter. He was just a third-string quarterback before. So the Colts, I don't think, are intending on Andrew Luck getting hurt all the time.
Well,
if anything, I think they should invest in an offensive line for him one of these days. That would be nice. Or, and I'm not trying, Frank Gore was a great running back in the day, and he did a pretty decent job last year. I'm not going to take that away from him. But, you got to get something. You got to get some youth there, because you had a below-average rushing attack last year. Get some youth, get something new, get something exciting there. That's why in my mock drafts last year, I had them drafting a running back or an offensive lineman. Funny, those are the two things I'm talking about right now that they didn't really do.
Yeah.
So anyways, Yeah, I just don't really see there being that much of a forward-thinking plan or anything. They expect Andrew Luck's going to be back by week 3 or week 4, and they expect him to play. This is just the stopgap, and now you got a backup quarterback who's better than your current backup quarterback. I just don't see anything beyond that, and I think a lot of people want to read into it right now. And to think about the fact of maybe they're going to cut or let Andrew Luck walk one day because of injuries. I think we're making some stuff up.
It wouldn't be the first time it happened in Indy.
It wouldn't.
I mean, they let Peyton Manning go because of the neck injury.
And because he was almost 40 years old.
Could you imagine
also because they were drafting Andrew Luck.
Could you imagine if that happened? They let Andrew Luck go because of injuries. I'm saying that he would have to have reoccurring injuries, not just letting him go after this one. He goes to another team, wins a Super Bowl with that team. What would the I know this is all hypothetical here, but the reputation of the Colts of the last 2 phenomenal quarterbacks you had left you because of injury, won a Super Bowl with someone else.
Well, it would be awesome because then every quarterback would be like, all right, let me get drafted by the Colts. I'll be there for 4 years. I'll leave. I'll win a Super Bowl.
I mean, in Peyton Manning's case, it was a little longer than 4 years.
Yeah, but Andrew Luck's, who knows? But anyways, obviously Andrew Luck's not for 4 years. But if you get drafted and you just sit there for those 4 years, you manage to get out, not play that 5th year, don't get that team option. So basically here, I think Andrew Luck would honestly be pretty lucky to get out of Indianapolis because they're not showing that they're going to ever give him anything and help. And I like a guy like Malik Hooker. I like Quincy Wilson. They really attacked the defensive side of the ball for the first 3 rounds before they did draft an offensive tackle in round 4, the very, very end of it. But that's just, I feel like that offensive lineman, that's too little too late. I do appreciate going at the defense because this defense needs to do something to not make every single game a shootout out there. But your number one asset is Andrew Luck, and he's currently hurt, and you had to get a backup quarterback through a trade because you want to still be competing in your division, which is a very difficult division for them. So you have to have this going on, but the thing is, you're not drafting the very things he needs most, which are going to be the offensive line, which is going to be the running backs. I mean, hell, I guess he could use another wide receiver too, but that's not really a big need. The first time you go for offensive tackle and running back, it's the 4th round. It's a little bit too late for that.
And the way I see this season going for the Colts now, because of this, if I'm the Colts, do not rush Andrew Luck back. Just let him go because another key injury is Vontae Davis, one of their defensive backs, not going to play this week, but also they're saying could be sidelined at least a few weeks, according to Colts beat writer Zach Kiefer with the groin injury that he already has. So we talk about that defense not being as strong as it could be. Yeah, you get Malik Hooker, but then you lose a weapon like Vontae Davis in the defensive backfield with that point. But any last thoughts on this before we move on to the other side of this trade, which is the New England Patriots?
Well, I feel like for Andrew Luck, I mean, be hurt past that Seahawks game because if you come back before that Seahawks game week 4, you're going to end up getting hurt again. And you got some tough defenses here. You really do. And I feel bad for the guy because no one is surprised that he got hurt. I know I'm certainly not. And if he comes back and plays again with this team, the way they are built up right now, not surprised that they get hurt again.
Colts fans are going to get mad at me. Do not rush Andrew Luck back. Let him take as much time as possible. If you lose a few games early, it just means you can get a higher draft pick this year.
Maybe you could draft the next Andrew Luck.
Some offensive line help or maybe some defensive help in that first round if you guys are high enough. But let us know down below what you guys think. What does the Jacoby Brissett trade mean for the Colts? What do you kind of see Andrew Luck's future being in Indy? Because we kind of hit that as well. And how do you think the Colts are going to do this season with what we know now about Andrew Luck's timetable and about if he can't come back, Jacoby Brissett is going to be up to pace to be the starter. So let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section.